I woke up in a hospital bed, still groggy from an infection that nearly killed me, only to walk into work Monday morning and get laid off. No warning, no compassion, just a cold handshake and a smile. But karma was just getting warmed up. If you've ever been screwed over by a toxic boss or laid off when you needed your job the most, buckle in. This is the story of how I got the sweetest revenge without ever raising my voice. Hit that like button, subscribe for more satisfying justice, and let's dive in. Let me take you back to the early 2000s. I worked for a small printed circuit board (PCB) design and manufacturing shop. We were a tiny but vital part of the supply chain for one very big customer, an industry giant whose name you'd recognize instantly. We weren't flashy. We weren't famous. But we were essential. And I was the glue keeping it all together. I handled all the data and reporting, field performance, failure rates, corrective actions, engineering changes, you name it. Dry stuff. But it kept a big customer happy. I knew what they needed before they asked. Every week. Every month. Without fail. But then the winds changed. We got acquired by a shiny startup that didn't understand what made us tick. And with them came a new general manager. Let's call him Steve. Steve was, well, a jackass. The kind of guy who walks into a well-oiled machine and thinks he needs to reinvent the engine. Arrogant, dismissive, and clueless. You know the type. He didn't understand our business. Didn't want to understand. His mission? Strip down our operation, stop building products, and turn us into a design-only firm. Cheaper, leaner, faster, at least on paper. What that meant for me? I was expendable. Disposable. He didn't say it, but I could read the writing on the wall. But what really lit the fuse? One day, big customer changed their supplier policies. They now required a formal contract, and it came with strict reporting requirements. Steve called me into his office, plopped the contract on the table, and barked, "Write up a justification for why we can't meet any of this." I blinked. "Actually, we already meet every requirement on here." He stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "That's impossible." I explained. I'd already been sending detailed reports to big customer for over a year. Every metric, every failure rate, every corrective action, all on schedule. In fact, he had been copied on every single one. He just never opened his email. The man was dumbfounded. And in that moment, I knew two things. I was really good at my job. That wouldn't protect me. Fast forward a few months. I was burning the candle at both ends, working long hours, constant pressure, the stress piling up. Then it happened, a sudden, severe infection. I collapsed at home and was rushed to the hospital. Spent a full week there recovering. Came back to work the next Monday, pale and weak, but determined to get back on track. And at 10 a.m. that very day, I was laid off. No warning, no grace. Just a rehearsed HR script and a smug handshake. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I smiled, asked for 24 hours to review the severance paperwork, shook hands, and walked out. Calm, professional. But inside, I was raging. This was 2009, the Great Recession. Jobs were vanishing overnight. My health was fragile. My bank account was thinner than ever. But I refused to give them the satisfaction of watching me break. Miraculously, just a month later, I landed a new job. It paid less, about 25% less, but it was stable, respectful, honest, and I could finally breathe again. But then, the calls started. First, my old boss, not Steve, but the guy who had to sit through my layoff, calls me. He's asking about those reports I used to send. I can hear the panic in his voice. He's out of his depth. I help. Politely. I answer his questions. But I don't go above and beyond. I know he's drowning. Then, 3 days later, Steve calls. That arrogant, smug jackass who laid me off while I was still recovering from hospital stay. He says they want to rescind the layoff. Offer me my job back. I smile. Thanks, but no thanks. He tries to pressure me. Says if I refuse the offer, they can report it to the state, and I'll lose unemployment benefits. I'm still smiling. Thanks, but no thanks. What he didn't know, I already had a new job. I didn't need unemployment. A few days later, my old boss calls again, This time, with more desperation. He says they're willing to offer my job back with full benefits, reinstated stock options, bridged service time, all paid time off restored. It's tempting. It really is. But I say it again, for the last time. Thanks, but no thanks. He asks me to sign a written statement of refusal. You guessed it. Thanks, but no thanks. I hung up, and that was it. Until I got the next call from a friend still working there. Steve's gone. No warning, no explanation, just gone. And then, just a few weeks later, the entire company was sold off to a larger, more competent competitor, someone who already supplied big customer. My colleagues kept their jobs. My boss kept his position. Everyone who wasn't part of upper management landed safely. Steve, well, nobody knows where he ended up. But my guess? Somewhere far away from any position of power. Here's what made the revenge so sweet. They thought I was disposable. A spreadsheet in human form. A cog. But they didn't realize that I was the reason big customer stayed happy. I was the reason their biggest account hadn't pulled out. And when I left, everything fell apart. Their reports? Incomplete. Their relationship with big customer? Hanging by a thread. They begged me to come back. Not once. Not twice. But 3 times. They offered me everything they'd taken away, and more. And I walked away, with dignity intact, and a smile they never saw coming. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't screaming or suing or plotting. It's walking away, letting them crash without you, and building a better life on your own terms. Because the people who underestimate you will always regret it when you're gone. If that story gave you chills, hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed or experienced? And don't forget to subscribe for more true stories of justice, karma, and unforgettable payback. Until next time, keep your head high and your inbox full of receipts.